My first symptom was when I was in college. It was my first semester of college. I kept getting worse and worse. It got to the point where I couldn't use my hands at all. My hands were completely swollen. I expressed every symptom of lupus. I mean, I had the rash, I had the fevers, I had the joint pain, I had the kidney involvement. So I was fairly easy to diagnose. I became involved with the S.L.E. Foundation years ago. I had lost a baby due to complications from my lupus. And as soon as they started the Lupus Research Institute, I then became involved with that.
I was here at the beginning of the LRI, and I was with the S.L.E. Foundation before that.
The relationship with a patient and a lupus doctor tends to be much more involved.
And we've lived virtually a lifetime together. The patients are almost family. What she didn't tell you when we first met is that she was the guitar-playing hippie.
I set out wanting to be a musician and having a particular life, and I really could not fulfill that aspiration the way I wanted to. I had to rethink my dreams. And that, you know, that kind of dream does not die easily. And even now, you know, I think of when people ask me what I do, I always say I'm a musician.
For 35 years, the S.L.E. Lupus Foundation has been leading the fight against lupus, a destructive autoimmune disease that attacks an estimated 1.5 million Americans, primarily young women in the prime of their lives. In New York and Los Angeles, and now working coast to coast, the foundation continues to forge and strengthen critical links among scientists, doctors, advocates, and people with lupus.
Lupus is a very complex disease, and we want to get at it at many different levels. We want to understand why it's happening, its mechanism, because that's how we're going to get new drug targets. At the same time, it has effects on so many different organ systems in so many different ways. We want to find ways to ameliorate that.
If you look at lupus therapies over the last 50 or 60 years, there's no question with the introduction of steroids that patients did better. But still with these therapies, we have patients who are dying, we have patients who are going on to renal failure, a lot of mortality and morbidity.
We had known for years that Sherry's kidneys would fail. We used to say, oh, it's going to be in, 10 years or whatever. Well, the 10 years got here, and suddenly it was a year and a half or two.
I went to a nephrologist and I said, how long before you think I'm going to need a transplant? And he wanted me to arrange for a transplant then, right then and there, within the next few months. And I was just shocked.
I think it was the transplant of all the events that we've gone through that really was the thing that had the most impact to me. Her sister gave us this great miracle. She would have been dead in a couple of months.
The big hurdle for me was I have 2 young children. They're 5 and 7 now, and a husband, and the possibility of any after effects, how that it would impact them. But I explained that my sister was ill and she needed this to live a healthy life, and that we're Jewish, so I explained to them in terms of doing a mitzvah, which is a good deed, and that this was a big mitzvah that I could do for my sister, who I love.
With so many people suffering and so much unknown about the disease, scientists urged the S.L.E. Lupus Foundation to create the Lupus Research Institute, open to innovation, willing to take risks to support discovery and new approaches. The LRI is moving research from the lab to the patient. In 6 short years, the Lupus Research Institute is delivering solid breakthroughs in understanding how lupus affects the kidneys, the heart, the brain, and the skin, delivering real results for people with lupus.
I think it's the winning strategy, because the whole essence of discovery is we don't know really where we're going, and we have to really let our discoveries and our scientists, the people really with the talent and the deep understanding of the disease, lead us where it may. So we have to take just a multitude of different approaches, from the organ specific approaches to the basic immunology. We have to deal with basic science. If we don't, we will never get new drug targets, we'll never get new therapies.
I would also like to see them come up with less toxic drugs. If it has to be treated, then find a way to treat it without so much, toxicity, without prednisone.
Currently, there are a number of drugs in clinical trials for lupus. A lot of the research has been funded by the Lupus Research Institute, for example, as well as the NIH. So new disease targets for lupus have been identified, and therefore lupus can now be attacked by new drugs.
We haven't had new drugs for lupus approved in decades. My hope is that the next 10 years will be the golden age for lupus drug development.
I feel like we've really got lupus in the corner now when it comes to the science. We have not had a new therapy approved in a long time, but I can assure you that's going to change.
The links to a life without lupus grow stronger. Our dedicated scientists, physicians, the new contributions of the pharmaceutical and biotech industries, government, and always lupus patients and their families. The task now is to unite these links, unite the lupus community in partnerships and collaborations that can lead the advancement of a new golden age in lupus discovery, so long awaited, so greatly needed, and so richly deserved.
Having been involved, at least peripherally, in observing what the Lupus Foundation and the Lupus Research Institute have done, I'm very optimistic at this point. But it is a function of money. You can't have these kind of breakthroughs without raising a lot of money, because it isn't going to come from anywhere else. It's got to come from us.
I, of course, have my husband and my daughter, my family. They keep me busy. They keep me very busy, and I would like to be around for a very, very long time.
I never cease to be amazed at the durability and the optimism and sort of the ability of people with lupus to go on. I have to say that they seem to handle it with great grace, and they deserve all the help and support that they can get.